Today we are going to be listening to a Ukrainian accent, and we're going to learn how to change the sounds and prosody to a more standard American English accent. I was able to get the language sample from the website IDEA, which is the International Dialects of English Archive. It's a really cool website, and Comma Gets a Cure, the text that they were reading, the copyright information is in the show notes. So I hope you enjoy. Here we go.
This recording, Ukraine 2, is copyright the International Dialects of English Archive. Comma Gets a Cure is copyright Douglas N. Honoroff, Jill McCullough, and Barbara Somerville.
Well, here's a story for you.
Well, here's a story for you. That's how we would typically say it in American English. We would rarely emphasize you, like he did. Well, here's a story for you. We would rarely do that unless for some reason we really wanted you, and you in particular, to listen to this story. Otherwise, we would say, well, here's a story for you.
Sarah Perry was a veterinary nurse.
Sarah Perry was a veterinary nurse. Sometimes we'll say veterinary, sometimes we'll say veterinary. And Sarah is always pronounced with an air, Sarah. A lot of English as a second language speakers will say Sarah, but it's really Sarah.
Who had been working daily.
One of the tendencies of Eastern European speakers is to really over-exaggerate the H sound. So in that word who, there's a real strong aspirated H at the beginning of it. Who. We don't do that in American English. It's just who. And then had been working. His sounds a little bit like a V with a tiny Y in it too, like wirken. And in English, it's just the W and then the ER sound, working. And daily. That Y is an E sound, long E. We hold our vowels out a little bit longer, so daily, not daily.
At an old zoo in a.
So partly prosody, partly pronunciation. That word an, he pronounces that A more like an O, like on. It should be an, at an, old zoo, in a. And just the prosody, we run our words together and don't make it so clipped. Instead of the spacing like at an old zoo, we would say at an old zoo, in a.
Deserted district of the territory.
Deserted district of the territory. Deserted. He left off that ED on the end. We do pronounce that in English. Deserted district. And it sounded like that STR kind of turned into a KR, like just district. It's district. Got to get that S in there. And of the territory, the I didn't really hear the TH too well. So just make sure that TH is able to be discerned by your listener, the, tongue between the teeth.
So she was very happy to start.
Very, with a good V. It sounded like a W. It needs to be a V, teeth on your lower lip. Happy. Again, make sure you don't emphasize that H too much. Very happy, not very happy, very happy.
A new job at a super private practice.
A new job at a superb private practice. When I first listened to him read that, I thought he said a new joke with a J-O-K-E, a long O. Because of the vowel, because it sounded like a long O, my brain went to what word could that be with a J-O, and I thought of joke. So that's just an example of how you can be misunderstood if you don't get your vowels just right, because that B was so soft it could have been any sound. It didn't stand out to me. So a great way to say it would be a new job. And then superb private practice. He stumbled over that a lot, and I wonder if it's just because he wasn't really familiar with those words. It's hard to tell sometimes whether it's an accent issue or whether it's just not understanding what those words are, not being familiar with the words and reading those words.
Is North Square near the Duck Street Tower.
In North Square near the Duke Street Tower. So I heard him say is instead of in. I heard a Z instead of an N. It should be in north square. That TH, I think he got the TH, but it kind of blended into the S a little too much. So it sounded like North Square. And I heard Dark Street Tower instead of Duke Street Tower. That U is definitely a long U. There's a silent E on the end of that. So Duke Street Tower. And near it sounded like a Z, like Z, near Z. Just make sure that for THs, your tongue touches in between your teeth a little bit and it vibrates for the voiced TH for the.